Former FSU quarterback and Jets backup Jordan Travis retired from football today. His leg never fully healed from his 2023 injury at FSU. My thoughts and prayers go with him. That is a tough way to end a career. Welcome to episode 194 of ATL Prime Sports. I'm JJ Jurjevich. Joining me this evening is our fabulous producer, Wayne Ridenauer. And you can catch us all at ATL Prime Sports on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and of course, Apple and Spotify. And it's, as always, if you like the content, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, hit that notification button so you get notified with our latest content. Personal X's at JJ. Get you one for myself at RWY Jr. for Wayne, at Corder Todd for TC Todd Corder, who is out umpiring some baseball games tonight, and at LG4 Real, though, who is doing PA voice duties for the Rome Emperors. Wayne, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, but not quite as good as Seth Hennigan from Memphis. Looks like he's picked up at least a preseason spot there with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And to be honest with you, I've never been much of a AFC fan, but then lately I feel like the Jaguars might be the team I have to gravitate towards, and that'll fit too because with Atlanta on one side and Jacksonville on the other side, disappointment will be something that I'll finally come to terms with.
I'm doing well, Wayne. I finally broke 100 on the golf course, shot a 99 at Country Club of Gwinnett. According to Google, I have officially joined the top 45% of all golfers in the world. Wayne, I should retire on top.
Yeah, right.
What's on tap for today's show? Oh, go ahead, Wayne.
I was going to say, call the LIV people now.
Live Golf, you got a $5 million deal for me?
Heck, you might want to settle for $500,000 to start. You'd do that, wouldn't you?
I'll take it. I'll take it. Will McFadden, senior editor and staff writer for the Atlanta Falcons, joins us talking all things Atlanta draft and more. The Braves are on fire since starting 0-7. We'll talk about the Braves, and we'll cover some NBA playoffs in our final thought. And without further ado, now the Falcons draft is behind us. Here to talk and analyze Atlanta's draft class, Will McFadden, again, senior editor and staff writer for the Atlanta Falcons. Thanks for coming on, and welcome back, Will. How are you this evening?
Oh, I'm doing well, JJ, Wayne. Appreciate you guys having me on. I'm excited, for the next little bit. We got JJ and WW. Let's talk some Falcons draft. This is awesome.
Yeah, man, we'll start it off. The news came down today. The Falcons were handed the $250,000 fine, the $100,000 fine to defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich. He did a press conference today. Your thoughts on the press conference? And we'll keep it short and sweet because I don't think it's as big of a story as everybody's making it. I think it was a lighthearted joke, and unfortunately, it just happened to coincide with the Atlanta Falcons. Your thoughts on the press conference? We'll keep it simple.
Yeah, I think for starters, kudos to Jeff Ulbrich for doing it, for stepping up there, and honestly, he took full accountability. He said, "Look, this was a failing on my part for the security of data and information," and the Falcons, to their credit, have kind of said, "Look, we have been proactive, and we appreciate the league kind of working with us to improve and identify some areas in our protocols." So I do think ultimately it's a shame kind of what happened, but like you said, today the press conference hopefully represented kind of a little bit of a closing of the chapter and a turning of the page, because all along the way I think all parties have been very open and transparent, and honestly one of the biggest takeaways from Ulbrich's press conference was how kind of open, I guess, Shador and the Sanders family was in kind of receiving their apology, and it seems like there's really no ill will harbored in this whole arrangement. So yeah, that's kind of my biggest takeaway from everything today.
Yeah, I give kudos to Shador Sanders, how he handled it.
Me too.
The Sanders family in general. And honestly, another question that doesn't involve the Falcons, Abdul Carter supposedly got a prank phone call at the number 2 pick. So this is just happening more and more. You've seen it from back in the day. Texas A&M student got the bullpen's number and said, "Hey, get AJ Minter warming up in the bullpen." This is years ago. Now you're seeing it in the NFL draft. Just kind of your thoughts. It's a lot bigger problem than I thought it was, which is kind of eye-opening in general.
Yeah, it was a little wild to me too. I mean, like I think we're all finding out at the exact same time just how, I don't want to say rampant, right? It's not like there's dozens of prospects coming out, but it is notable, and it really shouldn't happen at all. So the league has
Agreed.
historically been very quick and responsive to on-field, rules, regulations. When we want to know what is a catch, they're pretty quick to kind of tweak some things, figure it out. The kickoff rules, what have you. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they are making this a priority to kind of look into league-wide. How is this happening? How did this happen this year? And I'm curious to see if anything does happen moving forward.
Yeah, I am too. I was reading that today, and I was just like, man, this is more wide open than I thought it was. It's like you said, it shouldn't happen. People should know, right? I mean, this is someone's career that you're kind of dealing with, and you're kind of on edge. I would assume. I've never been drafted in anything before in my life, so I would, except for rec league, of course, but I would assume that it is gut wrenching to receive a call like that. And again, these guys handle it with class. So we'll move forward, but we'll go into the Falcons draft class. The Falcons finally took a dog, Will. I know all of our listeners here at the ATL Prime Sports world are going to be happy. Jalen Walker, he should be a great player. I was reading your article on AtlantaFalcons.com. Who do you think he compares to early on in his career?
Well, the comparison that is, I think, been made for him, and honestly, maybe even against his wishes and the coaching staff's wishes, would be Micah Parsons, and that's a very lofty name to throw out there, right? And I'm not even sure I'm comfortable comparing them. I look at Jalen Walker as a little bit of a more physical type of player than Micah Parsons is, but I think it's the real versatility aspect of his game, which we saw firsthand in Caden Ellis last year, right? Like Caden Ellis and Zach Bond, he got a little bit more attention playing for the Eagles, of course, right? Who go on to win the Super Bowl, but both of those guys at kind of an inside linebacker position being the Swiss Army knife pieces that they were, like that has, I think, caught the attention and captivated kind of the creativity of a lot of the defensive coordinators around the league. And Jalen is a little bit of a different player, but I only like that more as a complement to what they already have in Caden Ellis, because Jalen is going to be more on the exterior, and specifically kind of the early stance from the coaching staff has been, we are going to focus Jalen in year one on more of an edge role. So we're not going to pull out all of the bells and whistles in the Swiss Army knife just yet. We're really just going to kind of make sure we're comfortable using him in one specific way. And it's the one way where if you want him to get close to the ceiling that all of the draft pundits kind of throughout the last several months have been projecting, that is the part of his game that you want to invest in first and foremost. So I think that the coaching staff is right to identify and say, this is a versatile player, but to make his transition to the next level easier and to make our defense's ceiling maybe higher, we're going to focus him in the most impactful way in year one. So I'm really excited to see what Jalen Walker can do. And then that's not even mentioning the leadership qualities, which everybody raves about, and in kind of his introductory press conference did stand out a little bit to me. So I'm excited for that part of his game as well.
Yeah, and again, the dog aspect. It's the first Georgia Bulldog selected in the first round in Falcons history. So the local
first
people are going nuts. Yeah, first 2 rounds. So it's great all around. You mentioned his leadership capabilities. He's come from a winning program, and the general manager for the Detroit Lions, they drafted 3 Georgia Bulldogs, and he says, I don't see any other practices like what Kirby Smart's doing. So I'm sure that has a lot to do with this draft process. And the fact that he fell to 15, your comments on that, which is just great day for the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think that it was a situation that one of those where you almost like look up and you're like, wait, what just happened? Like, I think back to Derwin James. Derwin James is a great example when he just kind of fell. I think it was to like 14 with the Chargers, and this was a player that, yes, even though he was a safety, everybody was kind of talking about him as a surefire, like top 10 pick, one of the best players, safest players, most versatile high upside players in the draft. And all of a sudden you look up and it's like, how do you make it down here? Okay, thank you very much. We'll just take this. And it's been a little bit since I think the Falcons have done that in at least a way where everybody was in total unison, right? Like the Falcons have done a good job, I think, of just taking the best player on the board, whether or not the positional value in some people's minds have always matched, where a player should have gone. But like, you can't really quibble with the Falcons' first round picks over the last few years. So I loved that he slipped there. They satisfied the Georgia need. You can almost hear the barking coming from Athens in Flowery Branch on Thursday night. So yeah, it was one of those rare kind of moments where you hop on Twitter and everybody was like, "Hey, this was nice. Look at us. All right, good job."
Yeah, it was impressive to hear his name called as a Georgia fan. You see all the Georgia stuff over my shoulder if you're on the YouTube. But great draft. Three other defenders, four total. I really like the Pierce move as well, moving back into the first round. We've talked about this in previous weeks. The Falcons didn't have a lot of draft capital going into 25 in terms of total picks. So I think they made the most of moving up into the first and then moving up again into the third round to get Watts. Your comments on Pierce and Watts coming in.
Yeah, we also heard from Assistant General Manager Kyle Smith today, and they are psyched about this draft, even though they only came out with 5, which matches 2006 as the smallest draft class in Falcons history. They really feel that all 4 defensive players they drafted in the first 4 rounds have an opportunity to develop potentially into starters in the first year. So I think certainly when you're looking at Jalen Walker, James Pierce, and Xavier Watts as well, like I know they went and got Jordan Fuller in free agency, but I think they're stoked to have Xavier Watts on the team. And he was somebody that, a lot of them I think had projected going in the second round, as a lot of people in the draft community did. And so another example of, you just look up and you're like, he's still there. Okay, what do we need to do to go get him? And that is where, like, you gotta kind of appreciate the cojones a little bit of this Falcons front office to say, like, it doesn't matter how many picks we come in with or how few people say that we have, like, we're going to find ways to still be aggressive and go get the guys we want to get. And James Pierce is a player that I know the coaching staff is very high on. And I think that when you look at a draft class that a lot of people felt wasn't, loaded with the type of true blue chip elite talent that the best drafts are, where you maybe have like 4 or 5 guys where you're feeling like, hey, this could be a future all-pro for us. That wasn't this draft. And to identify a player who, in James Pierce, a lot of people said, if he hits, if you develop in the right way, he does have kind of those rare traits where you are looking at the potential ceiling of like an upper echelon player in kind of any draft. It's just that, he came with some of the off-field questions. His production was nice, but there's also some projection involved because he's not as technically refined as maybe some of the best. But like, if you're going to bet on your coaching staff, which they are, bet on their development of his technical ability, bet on their development of his athleticism to a productive, like, usage in the NFL. You have incredible speed, acceleration, burst. here's how you use that in the most effective way. And I think Jeff Ulbrich is excellent in that regard, and I would trust him with James Pierce. So Xavier Watson, James Pierce are definitely going to be two guys who are maybe you see a little bit more in flashes. Like I think Jalen Walker is going to be a name you hear like frequently. James Pierce might be part of that rotation, but he's really your like ace in the hole pass rusher, even as a rookie, because I do think he is that talented. And then Xavier Watson is going to be he's going to be the most interesting player I think to watch in training camp outside of Michael Penix Jr.
Agreed 100%. I'm a big Xavier Watts fan. He played extremely well down the stretch for the Fighting Irish. Had a big pick six against Southern Cal at the end of the season and played extremely well against Georgia here in that Sugar Bowl. So one last question. I think the Falcons could potentially, just like you said, have 4 starters in this draft. And to me, you get 4 starters in a draft, that's a good draft. So to heck with these ESPN.com gradings, I think the Falcons had an A draft. Your grade as a Falcons writer for this draft?
Yeah, it is hard to come away with anything. Yeah, I think I'm gonna say I'll say an A minus. I really only say that because in my experience, drafts are never as rosy as you want to feel in the moment, and in the moment right now, I feel like it's at minimum an A. So I'm just gonna bump it down half a little bit because the cynic in me is roaring back in this moment. But when you look at what the Falcons' needs were coming into the offseason and the draft, it was pass rush. You went and got 2 of the guys when we were sitting there debating at who they would take at 15. You got 2 of them, and one of them you really were thinking was a pipe dream would even be there at 15. So that is the foundation that you're going into day 2 with, and then you get a player in the late 3rd round that a lot of people in mock drafts for whatever site you mock draft on probably were taking late 2nd, early 3rd at the latest. So again, I kind of think that you look at this draft, small class. Yeah, they gave up a 1st round pick, but this team, their goal last year was playoffs. You know, I have a hard time imagining it's anything different this year. And if they make the playoffs, which that should be the expectation, then you're looking at not giving up but a few spots at most for this trade. And I would look at it as a trade that helps you hopefully reach the postseason for the first time in 7 years. So I think this was the right time. They clearly believe in the player. So yeah, I think it's definitely an A draft for the Falcons.
100% agreed. Again, we mentioned only 5 picks, but if you get 3 or 4 starters out of this, I don't care how you chalk it up. That's a good draft. Easy move made today. Drake London, 5th-year option picked up. Your thoughts? I think it's a great move at a discounted rate, and this guy's probably going to be one of those elite type wide receivers looking in the NFC South of things.
Yeah, I think the fact that the Panthers drafted the wide receiver that has been most commonly compared to Drake London after seeing him twice a year for the last 3 years tells you all you need to know about how good of a player he is. The dude is phenomenal. There was something that really caught my attention last training camp coming back to the team after, I wasn't around when he was drafted. I'd been in the locker room. I'd been kind of around Drake, but not really that closely. And he just said that he was much more kind of like free and comfortable being himself this past year, that was something the coaching staff was really promoting for him to do. And this year it's more taking a leadership role. But last year he really, I think, blossomed as kind of a competitor on the field, a leader in the locker room. And we obviously saw it result in the biggest season that he's had so far in the NFL. So he is a tone setter in the way that the best Falcons wide receivers have been. I think he's a little bit closer to the Roddy White 2-time state champion high school wrestler than he is Julio Jones. But heck, the Falcons will take any kind of receiver. They're not picky. And they've had some amazing ones over the years, and I think Drake is making a case to belong right there among the best of them when all is said and done. So I know everybody's excited. He's back, and I wouldn't be shocked if he's here for a little bit longer than that 5th year as well.
Yeah, well, you know what? I've got a question for you that's non-draft related, and I was wondering, what are your thoughts on Raheem Morris actually playing starters in the first 3 preseason games this season versus what he did last season?
Oh man, that's a good one. I think that for me personally, this team still doesn't really have the depth where you feel comfortable kind of like really fine tuning and speed testing that first team. I think that with Penix, I think anything is on the table when it comes to that. You've got a much younger quarterback, but I also wouldn't be shocked if they say, wow, it'll be fascinating though is if for some reason Kirk Cousins is still on the roster, that'll be a very interesting kind of dynamic as well. And they've said they're comfortable with the backup. So I would expect the first team to maybe get a little bit more run if they want to see that from Mike. But honestly, I don't disagree at all with the notion of get your guys in there healthy to the regular season, because that's what matters at the end of the day. And the practices are structured in such a way, and joint practices and so forth. Like there is so much ability to get guys prepared, and they are coming in better prepared than ever before. The number of players that have been at OTAs, or not OTAs, just voluntary kind of workouts so far, the very first phase of the off season, there's a lot of guys. So I think people are ready and prepared, and they take it more seriously. So I don't think the preseason means as much.
Well, I'm not a big preseason guy myself either, but that was one of the gripes that everybody was leaning on last year about Morris in the beginning of the season, and I don't think it was all that warranted, but it was something that was brought up, and I just wanted to see what you had to say about it.
I don't think the start of the season was the issue last year, all things considered.
Yeah, well, towards the end we found that out.
100% agreed.
So I think. Well, every year is different, right? Every group is different. We'll see what the circumstances bring.
You're listening to Will McFadden right here on ATL Prime Sports. You can catch Will on X at Will McFadden. Final question for you. We'll send you off. I know you're busy. You just mentioned his name, Kirk Cousins. You'd be surprised if he's on the roster start of the season. If he is on the roster, chances Kirk Cousins is the Falcons starting quarterback going into the fall if it's an open competition.
Oh man, I can't put a number on that, because that is that's putting the cart way before the horse. We still have the post-draft phase. We're gonna have to see how the draft affected the quarterback market, which you guys can read about on AtlantaFalcons.com. We just had a piece go up Monday morning on that very subject. So yeah, I think we still have a long ways to go. The Falcons, the entire way, hey, they've their stance has not changed. They're very comfortable going in to the season with Kirk Cousins as their backup quarterback. Backup quarterbacks are more valuable than ever, and this team has its sights set on the postseason. If the draft told you anything, so yeah, I mean, I think that if that comes, look, everybody is so thrilled with Michael Penix. I think that he is going to be taking the first team reps when training camp rolls around, but we'll see what happens on the Kirk Cousins front. Personally, I'm as curious as you guys are.
Yeah, it's why I asked you. I had to hear it. Didn't mean anything by it, and I'm just excited about the quarterback room. I mean, like you said, having a backup quarterback like Kirk Cousins to a basically a rookie quarterback like Michael Penix is only going to do wonders for that quarterback room, in my honest opinion. I think it'll push both players. And I think Kirk Cousins is a good enough teammate. I think he's going to be a good sport about it as long as he's under contract with the Atlanta Falcons. Well, folks, that wraps it up with Will McFadden. Will, tell our listeners how they can read your articles. You just mentioned it, atlantafalcons.com. But anything else you want to shout out, your podcast, anything like that, go ahead and shout it out.
Yeah. Thank you, JJ. We, of course, have all the coverage over at AtlantaFalcons.com, exclusive interviews, videos with all the prospects. It's really some interesting stuff over there. The video team does great work. And then our podcast network, which you guys can find anywhere that you get your podcasts. You can check out the YouTube channel at Atlanta Falcons. And yeah, we're really excited about just kind of the variety of coverage that we can provide for the fan base. But I thank you guys so much for having me on, JJ and Wayne. It was awesome to recap the draft with y'all. I too, I'm super excited for the upcoming season because I kind of have high hopes for this draft. And the last time the Falcons really nailed the draft was 2016. So who knows?
Who knows? Time will tell, but I think hosting a home playoff game in Mercedes-Benz is a viable option and an outcome for this season. Will McFadden, senior editor and staff writer for the Atlanta Falcons, thanks so much for coming on and good catching up with you, Will.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. Anytime.
Absolutely. We'll move on from the Atlanta Falcons to the Atlanta Braves. 7-3 in their last 10 games. Let's talk about the turnaround in Atlanta, Wayne. Started out 0-7. Since then, 14-9. And have won 4 series in a row after taking 2 of 3 from the Rockies. They fell today 2-1. But the Rockies, quick note on the Rockies, they avoided becoming the second worst team since 1901. Till basically, they avoided being the second worst team ever. They won today, so they didn't fall to 4-26. The 88 Orioles, I believe, were the only other team to lose 26 of their first 30 games. But back to the Braves. Chris Sale looked good today. Didn't get the run support he needed, but he struck out 10. Didn't walk a batter today, Wayne. So the Braves looked really good in the pitching front. And I couldn't be more happy with Eli White, man. This guy was on a 6-game extra base hit streak. It ended today with the single, so he's still on the hit streak, but this guy has just come in and played baseball. It doesn't care who he plays, when he plays, what number he is, where he's playing that day. I love to see guys like that. The Braves are putting the ball in play more. You saw some swinging bunts, some fielding issues in the cavernous Coors Field, and it opened up extra base hits. It opened up longer innings. And when you do that and guys are playing small ball, the Braves, again, won 2 of these 3 games, Wayne, without hitting a home run. And, the Braves rely so much on the long ball recently that was kind of eye-opening for me, saying, you know what, this team can do it in other ways. They don't have Acuna, they don't have Strider, and they don't get Profar back till July. So this team is doing a lot with a little, and you can credit guys, again, Eli White, Verdugo, Nick Allen. It's just guys like that come in. Grant Holmes has been pretty good. Bryce Elder had a good start in Colorado. Gave up the 3-run shot, but pitched really well the rest of the game. So guys, the Braves are coming together right now, and it seems like it's about the right time. And then again, I want to shout out Alex Verdugo. He started 0 for 5. Since he's hitting 387, 5 extra base hits, 5 RBIs in 7 games, including 2 4-hit ball games. This guy has just been lights out since they've signed him, and love what Verdugo does. Same thing. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Didn't play in the matinee earlier today. Didn't matter. Braves didn't hit the ball very well again. Didn't get Sale the run support, but they took 2 of 3. And you get that 2 of 3 mentality, that's what gets you out of that 0-7 hole. And the Braves have a big series coming up this weekend with Freddie Freeman and the world champion Dodgers coming into town, or Shohei Ohtani. But we're more concerned about Freddie Freeman, the former Brave, coming in here. Shohei's Shohei. But it's been very fun to watch these Braves turn it around, Wayne. Your thoughts on Major League Baseball in general, if you want to give a quick topic about your Rangers. I know Jock Peterson hasn't been doing too well for your Rangers. But I got Evaldi. Evaldi's pitching well. And he's on my fantasy team, the L7 Weenies.
Well, I think the Texas Rangers are making some moves with the minor league teams right now, kind of shuffling some stuff around. But I wanted to maybe what has happened was the mojo that Texas had at the beginning of the season has transferred to Atlanta now because they both find themselves in third place in their respective division. And as we all expected, Seattle and Houston are the ones that leapfrogged above Texas. Now, Texas, their big problem, I think, is they need to quit splitting on the losing side of these 3-game series because you continue to do that, you're just going to continue to drop. And tonight they're playing the Athletics, or as we like to say down in the South, the Athletics. And hopefully they'll win tonight. But how do you like those afternoon games your Braves playing today?
I love matinee baseball. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things in all of sports. I'm not going to lie to you, Wayne. You can get any other sport and you put it at one, it's normal. Yeah. But you get a day baseball game, there's just something about it.
Well, it's the natural lighting. I think that's the big difference because I don't care what type of artificial lighting you've got. Even if you've got something that can mimic the sun, there's just something about being out there in the clouds, sometimes covering, you see them going over a diamond.
The shadows.
So that it's a whole different experience, and I agree with you. It is fun.
Yeah, quickly back to Atlanta. Atlanta, final thoughts on this. Atlanta's got to improve its starting pitching. Their team ERA of 4.28 is 10th worst in baseball. Only 8 quality starts this season. The Braves need Sale to dial it up a little bit. Again, what he did today, you get that moving forward. You're going to be happy as an Atlanta Brave fan. Got to get Strider healthy. The hamstring is slowly coming along. Hopefully it's not a lingering issue. And then Schwellenbach, you got the top 3 there. Grant Holmes, again, Bryce Elder, A.J. Smith-Shawver have been coming in, doing some things. But don't be surprised if Alex Anthopoulos is thinking and getting the wheels ready for a trade deadline acquisition of a front line starter. That's exactly what the Braves need. If they can get that, I think they're well on their way to getting back in the divisional race. But they got to get a little bit better pitching. Haven't gotten that in the first 30 games of the year, but it's coming. Again, big series with the Dodgers coming in. You got Grant Holmes versus Yamamoto Friday night, and Grant Holmes has answered the ball as of late. He's getting back on the right side of the hill, and he's pitches are starting to work. He's pitching for contact. He's not a big strikeout guy. So hopefully the Braves can complete this turnaround, take 2 of 3 from L.A., and get back to 500 by the end of the weekend. Off day tomorrow, travel day, coming home from West. And I'm just excited to see this Dodger series with this Atlanta Braves team versus the opening of the season because, boy, that was not a fun series to watch in L.A., the second series of the year, Wayne.
No. Anytime your team gets beat like that, it's never fun to watch. It's always more fun when your team's winning.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We'll move from Major League Baseball with some NBA playoff final thoughts. So I think we both have one. Just some quick notes around the league. The East, the Cavs advanced past Miami 4-0. Celtics advanced past the Magics 4-1. The Magic 4-1. The Knicks lead the Pistons 3-2. Game 6 tomorrow night on TNT. That's Thursday night, folks. Pacers defeated the Bucks 4-1. They play Cleveland next. And in the West, Oklahoma took care of your Memphis Grizzlies 4-0. They await the Nuggets Clippers winner. Golden State leads Houston 3-1. That game tipped off about 30 minutes ago or so on TNT. Minnesota leads the Lakers 3-1. That game tips off at 10 p.m. Wednesday night tonight. And the Nuggets lead the Clippers again 3-2. Game 6, 7 p.m. Thursday night, a.k.a. tomorrow night on TNT. Some NBA postseason notes, Wayne. Boy, 2 games involve 50-point losses. The Cavs beat the Heat 138-83, a 55-point win, and the Thunder beat the Grizzlies 131-80. So Lots of blowouts in the first round, Wayne.
That's ridiculous.
Lots of blowouts. Yeah, it was ridiculous. The Heat quit. The Grizzlies, I don't know what that was, but 50-point losses in a playoff game. Give me a break. NBA postseason TV ratings are up 14% from last season. I'm thinking it's because the Lakers are in the postseason. They're in a tight series with Minnesota. But look, the Cavs' 55-point win over the Heat, that was the largest margin of victory in a series-clinching win in NBA history. And another note on that, the Cavs also set a record with a 122-point differential in a series. That is just beyond lopsided. That is beyond lopsided and beyond me. Wayne, your thoughts on the NBA playoffs, your final thoughts? Go ahead.
Well, you know, your Atlanta Hawks got knocked out in the play-in game, and for all intents and purposes, Memphis might as well have gotten knocked out because they got swept in that first round. But I think now the big thing with the Grizzlies is who is going to be announced as the permanent new head coach. And I think I don't know if there's going to be much drama in that, as it will be waiting to see what will happen with the rest of these playoffs. But so now I'm at the point where I figure I would like to see I just like to see Houston and the Celtics in the final game now. So that's who I'm looking at now.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing the C's advance. I wouldn't mind seeing the Pacers do something as an old Pacers fan. But I think this Cavs team's poised. They are really good. They play good defense. They got some stars on that squad that could elevate them to a championship. Be the second one in franchise history. Oklahoma City, those young guys out there, boy, they're playing ball. I'd really love to see what happens if it's OKC and the Cavs, 2-1 seeds going at it. That's who I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be pretty much a chalk bracket, minus the fact Golden State is up on Houston right now. So hopefully your Rockets can get back into it there. But we'll see about that one. But that wraps us up. Excuse me. Any final thoughts on final thoughts?
No, nothing. I do have a final thought, but if you're talking about the NBA, I think I've done talking about NBA.
Just a general final thought. That was kind of a elongated final thought there.
Yeah. I would say my final thought is this coming weekend, we have a Formula One race down in Miami. It's the Crypto.com Formula One race. And even if you're not into watching Formula One and you're more of these people that like to watch the celebrities, anytime there's a Formula One race, there's always loads of celebrities, and they love to put them on TV. So check it out, and maybe you'll see one of your favorites in there.
Yeah, Formula One's extremely exciting to watch. Very fast race. It's over in about under 2 hours.
Right.
And it is exciting and exhilarating. Guys, my final thought is I just am baffled by the 250-point losses in playoff in the NBA playoffs. It is unbelievable. The NHL playoffs exciting. St. Louis Blues tied with Winnipeg 2 games apiece. And that one is a lower seed, the 4th seed in that Western bracket. So let's go Blues.
Yeah.
Get it ready, St. Louis. Let's get after it. Well, that's it for Wayne in Memphis. I'm JJ here in Lilburn, Georgia. As always, if you like the content, please give us a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe. Leave us a review on Apple or Spotify, and we'll catch you next week with another ATL Prime Sports. That's episode 194. Get you one. We'll see you next week.